Castlevania, one of the games that helped create the Metroidvania genre of games. It's a genre that I never truly tried out myself. I played a little bit of Hollow Knight, I started it, played for 20 minutes, and that's basically my experience. I never really tried the true two games that created this genre. However, now I have the occasion to do so because I got the Castlevania Dominus Collection from Konami. Thank you, Konami, for free code. Just to let you know, it's not a sponsored video. I am brutally honest with all of my opinions. If you don't believe me, look at my last video. That was a free code as well. But what is Dominus Collection? So Dominus Collection is essentially a collection of the DS Castlevania games, remastered for modern consoles. It's kind of funny that this is the game I'm covering because it does seem that we surprisingly often now on this channel talk about games that originated on Nintendo handheld consoles for some reason. So yeah, I did mention I never played Metroidvania games much. However, I did play the original Castlevania game, which I don't really think you can consider a true Metroidvania game. It's more of a very tight, very precisely created platformer from NES era. It's one of those games that really wants you to die, but it's so impeccably created and designed that you can't really get mad at it, because if you didn't succeed, if you died, it was your fault. In many ways, that game really reminded me of some modern games like Bloodborne or Dark Souls, because it has that deliberate enemy placement philosophy in it, which makes you think, it is my fault, not the game's fault that I failed. I really appreciate this game, but this is not what Dominus Collection is about. It's about games more similar to probably the most popular and most regarded game in the franchise, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Game that introduced, more non-linear level design with the RPG elements that people like, creating, absolute classic. And this is what the DS game tried to recreate, from what I understand. Since I never played these kind of games, I thought it would be quite daunting to go straight into Symphony of the Night, but we might do it if you guys like this video. But I do think the Dominus Collection is a good place to start. These are games created for DS, and quite simpler platform that was very popular among more casual players, and that has much simpler controls, and it was just less graphically and just technology advanced. As such, these games should be simpler, right? Well, either or, let's begin. The first game is called Order of Ecclesia. Ecclesia? Maybe the C's are silent, maybe it's Elysia. It's hard to say, I will never know, but that's the first game we are playing. And right off the bat, this game is different. When the first game just began, you just walk up to the castle and you're there, you're doing your stuff. Here, no, there's just text. There's walls and walls of text. There's lots of exposition. With that, a lot of story. So if you're into that kind of thing, that's cool. At least you know what you're doing in this game, though, if you paid attention. Because I didn't really pay much attention, but I know this guy's name is Albus, so this is a prequel to Harry Potter, which is interesting.
Harry! I protest! Harry, you put your name in a goblet of fire.
Also, there's Doctor Who in here. What are you doing, bro? And we don't have a whip, so that's first bummer. However, this game is good, at least to play. Oh, and there's a trope where we forgot all of our powers and have to regain them, because that's never, that's never boring, and that's definitely not a cliche that we want gone from our games. But anyway, that's the introduction done, and that took only 17 minutes, so it is kind of, longer than the first game's 13 seconds it takes to start. But you know what? At least we know what we're doing, and I have to say the gameplay of this game is good. It feels very satisfying. It definitely is much more complicated, or at least complex, than first Castlevania game, where you just had a whip and a special attack. But here you have basically combos, and then you have to equip the weapon in two different buttons, and that, if you click one after another, it creates a little combo, which is interesting, and I presume it does come in later as well, where you potentially could mix weapons or something. So that is interesting. Whoever this character is, because I just didn't pay attention what her name was, is so much less clunky than Simon Belmont. I'm sorry, Simon, but it's true. You quickly realize this game's focus is purely on combat. You have a satisfying combat, and you're expected to grind the levels. Because yes, this has JRPG style leveling system, where you level up, become stronger, unlock new things. Like, there are levels in this game which are literally just empty rooms with infinitely spawning enemies, clearly designed for you to just rack up levels. I can see merit for that, especially for a portable game. You know, if you don't want to necessarily do anything complex, just grind up levels while you wait for your boss or something like that, this works very well. I did play on a home console, such I didn't really benefit from this kind of game design. However, if I had it on Switch, I would definitely enjoy this. Especially like on a bus, or you just chill on the couch, watch a movie. It would be a good game to just, you know, passively play. So that is cool. I do want to say that this game, despite being a DS game, has been ported very well on the home consoles. First of all, it plays very well, it's very responsive, which is nice to see because DS controls are not very complex and good, so you could have thought that they would slack in that department, and it looks quite well. I have to say, it's a nice looking game, and it has a secret HD 4K mode. It's very simple, so there's a quick tip for you guys. If you want to activate the high level sprites, you know, those 4K sprites, all you have to do is squint a bit when you see them, and they look automatically better. But generally, all jokes aside, it's not bad. They look nice, the environments are nice, the enemy design is nice. Generally, it's one of the nicer looking sprite games I have played. And I do think that I was a little bit quick praising the controls because the controls are good. The basic controls, the fighting, the jumping, all that stuff is fine. However, it is a DS game. As such, unfortunately, the dark evil stain has been left on this game of the touchscreen controls, because of course. And in this game, I think, you know, they translate the touchscreen as well as they could have onto the controller, which is basically you hold the button to like magnetize to these balls or something, and then you have to use your stick to aim and shoot yourself out like you would shoot a rubber band or something. And I don't know, I don't like it. It is a big mechanic, however. I can see more of a merit on a DS, though it probably was annoying game where you have to like always keep your stylus in one hand, so I don't know how much I would like it then. But yeah, they did what they could, I think. Could they have done it better? I don't think so, without just removing this. I don't think there's any other option. So I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna take it away from the game too much, because I'm not gonna be too mad about this, because again, it's a product of its time at the end of the day. Anyway, we moved on from the tutorial level and we went to the first proper level with a boss and everything. And definitely this level was bigger, much more, you know, branching, and there was much more things to do. However, this is where the cracks in this game start appearing for me, because this is where I realized this game definitely did not borrow the good level design from the original game. First of all, again, it's all about combat, but it wasn't done the same way the original game was, where every enemy was placed in a very particular way to cause a very particular type of challenge. Here it feels it's just all thrown at you without really care or like thought. It was just, okay, this particular room is boring, let's just throw in tons of horse head floating about just for no reason. Or there's this long room where basically there's nothing there other than enemies spawning over and over again. They spawn so quickly that you don't have enough time to kill them. As such, there's no way of you not taking damage in this room. I at first thought maybe I have to run through the room, but there's literally no physical way to be able to avoid damage in this room. You can't kill them, you can't run away from them, you have to take damage. And this is just designed to inconvenience you, which I never think is a good level design. If the challenge in your level is just you throwing shit at the screen, it's not necessarily a good level. Just tips for all the designers out there. Anyway, I got through that and I was ready to fight the boss, and I got killed. Of course, I got destroyed. And you know what? I was at this point sick of the death room, and I was like, you know what? I'm done for tonight. And I almost gave up on this game. But then over the next days, I did remember some of those cool moments, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it another shot. So I did. And I just ended up grinding for ages. I was just standing in this one room, killing enemies, listening to podcasts, and after 20 minutes, I was ready. And I went to the boss and I destroyed him. It was super satisfying. It really, in many ways, reminded me of Dark Souls. I did always think that Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Elden Ring, all those games, have a lot of design elements from the old school games, and this game really helped me see that even better. I was so stoked destroying this boss. I was like, you know what? Maybe these games are actually for me. I was so ready to tackle the rest of the game and see what it has in stores for me. It turned out it was more bullshit. So yeah, the next level is just, again, you walking for a long stretch of nothing but like flat land with enemies spawning over and over again. And this level is even more bullshit because you can't even stand in place to try and kill the enemies because there's this like weird tentacle monsters, like, or I don't know what it is, maybe it's like squids or something that fly up and just grab you if you stand too still. So you have to run. And maybe, you know, you could think of, maybe this level was basically designed just for you to run through it, you know? It's a dangerous forest that you can't really stop at. You know, there could be some story reason, there could be something in it. But then, in the middle of this empty long room, there is a power-up. And the way the power-ups work in this game, you basically unlock new type of powers or like a weapon by destroying these statues and then absorbing this weird talisman, symbol, whatever you want to call it. And the way this game works is that you have to press up and basically absorb it slowly. And if you get hit, you stop the absorption process. So if you can imagine, in a room where there's like millions of enemies, keep spawning, you can't like actually kill them, and there's these enemies which like attack you if you stop and like don't move for a moment. It's very difficult to get that power up. So I eventually gave up and just decided to keep running because I was like, screw that. I was really fed up with this game at this point, and I just decided to, you know what, if the game is cheesing it, I'm gonna cheese it. So I went to the next level and I just run through it. And it turns out the level was, again, very linear. If you don't stop and fight the enemies, there's literally nothing there. The platforming is almost non-existent. It is literally just like floating platforms. There's nothing to them. There's some environmental like hazards, I guess, like some fish jumping out or something, but it's nothing like exciting or interesting or unique. It is just there to be there, I think. This game is clearly designed just for you to grind and do combat. As such, I went to the next boss and I got destroyed straight away. And then realized that this boss also relies on that magnetic touchscreen thing mechanic, and I just gave up. At this point, I was just sick of this game. I decided I do not like it. I'm just a scrub, okay? I'm just bad at those games. And this is not what I was necessarily hoping from a Metroidvania game. You know, I did, you know, hear that Metroidvania games are all about exploration and everything. And this game, the biggest focus was on the rooms with just tons of enemies. It seems like they really wanted you to spend as much time as possible with every level, grinding rather than, you know, going through designing intricate platforming challenges, you know, being careful with enemy placement to pose a real challenge. It's just a grind fest, which, you know what, there is a merit to those kind of games, but that's not what I was looking for. So I decided to eventually quit. And before you say I'm a scrub, well, first of all, it is true, I'm bad at games, but also it does seem that this game is said to be quite hard. one of the hardest in the franchise even. I was told so by some random list online, so I don't know how believable that is, but people seem to find difficulty with this game, which again, some people like these kind of games, but I don't necessarily like games which punish me just for sake of pain. That's not the way I do it, you know? Maybe they just do it to show you the path of a true hero. True hero suffers, you know? True hero has to go through hardships and doesn't complain. Like, but I'm sorry, I'm not Jesus Christ, okay? Well, actually, Jesus Christ also complained, even to his dad, about the hardships he was going through. So, you know what, maybe I am like Jesus. What were you talking about? Oh yes, Castlevania. So yeah, I skipped to the next game. So this game is Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. Ooh, spooky. And this game starts off with us trying to draw with the right stick. It was awful. I couldn't even draw as like a sad face. So this is a great start. This game definitely is going to be good. And we start with, of course, guess what? Wall of text. Which I didn't really pay attention to, if I'm honest, but I did realize that this game takes place in the 40s, 1940s, which is a kind of controversial year. So, I mean, good for you, for Konami, for, you know, taking risks, let's just say. But yeah, it's interesting how this game is in 1940s. The other one was like 1800s, so there's definitely a time jump. But I guess we're dealing with vampires, so they're eternal. Like our boy Edward, you know. And this game, it seems to be like an absolute like opposite to the last game. Whilst their last game was all about the combat, this one seems to be all about the level design and puzzles. And the gimmick in this game is that you switch between two different characters. And you will say, you're a moaner, you don't like anything, you're a hater, and you know what, that might be a bit of a truth, but I don't like this game. I tried to like this game. It definitely has more elements of Castlevania than the previous game. There's like definitely better level design, and even just from the start, there was like few cool moments, like where there's giant bull was chasing you and you have to destroy like those pillars with your whip, and it was like there was time pressure. There was that element of chase, and it's just really felt good. So there's cool moments in this game. However, the one thing that I really did not like from the beginning is the freaking swapping between characters kind of thing. I hate that in games. And I know that's just the kind of person I am. I'm very particular about my games. And I do feel if you have puzzles that need to require two people, you should play it with someone. That's why Lego games are never that good on your own. That's why most of games which have those kind of elements have multiplayer. And maybe original game had a multiplayer, I do not know, but it didn't seem that this one had. From everything I'm seeing, this game is a single player game, and I just really did not enjoy switching between characters. My brain just doesn't like that. No, I want puzzles that are for one character, or if there's two players, two characters. And that's all I need, okay? As such, I didn't really click with this one. It is definitely a better game though. I think it looks better. I do like the whip. I'm a sucker for whips, so I really liked it in that game. And generally, it had a better vibe than the previous game. So I think if it was two-player, I could really gist with it. But as far as I'm aware, it isn't. So will I ever find a Metroidvania game that I like? I played 2 games in this collection and didn't like either of them. But then I realized there was one more game and decided to give it a shot. And this is the game that you probably think of when you think Castlevania on DS. This is Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow. The Castlevania game that gave us this, a worst like cover in a history of gaming. However, it is the game that is the Castlevania game on DS. So potentially, maybe it's the best one? Well, let's check this out. The game starts with creating your emblem as well. The leftovers from the disgusting touchscreen era of gaming. So I just skipped over that. And this game takes place in the far future. This franchise loves to jump forward in time. I don't understand why, because it all takes place in a castle anyway, but I guess it is what it is. So what is this game all about? So we start as this dude with white hair, which in anime, JRPG kind of game, it's unheard of. I never seen that before. He's very unique and designed like no other characters before him. But he apparently was meant to be Lord of Darkness. He didn't want to be, so people are mad. That's the gist I got anyway. And the game starts very quick, so there is wall of text, there's people talking, but we get into the gameplay pretty quickly, which I always love. I think it's always a good sign when a game like gets you straight into it, or as quickly as they can anyway, to let you feel what you're gonna be playing later on, you know? To give you a little taste before they completely shower you with exposition. So that's always good. And I have to say, even though I did like Order of Ecclesia's like combat, this combat is so much more fun. It is simpler, I have to say. We don't have those combos, but we do have very clean, very quick, very simple. I think almost, I would say, almost as simple as NES game controls, where you just have a button for an attack, button for special attack, and then button for like a second weapon. It's simple. There's 3 things you have to think of. It's simple, it's easy, and satisfying. Also, the enemies don't seem to be very spongy. The enemies die very quickly, and honestly, killing the zombies is like popping a zit. It is so satisfying. I could do it all day. And yeah, we meet Walter White here as well, which is interesting. Jesse, this is not New Mexico, Jesse, what the hell? Bitch! Also, the enemy seems to be laid out much smartly and less densely, which honestly feels again like the old school Castlevania that I like. I think just this game wants you to play it more. The levels are interconnected, which I absolutely love. It kind of feels like a 2D open world game, which is awesome. And I think that is what people find appealing in Metroidvania games, because I find it very cool. There's no like giant corridors with like tons of enemies spawning infinitely as far as I can see. The enemies do respawn if you want to grind. However, they are placed strategically and sparely, honestly. You never feel overwhelmed. The first boss, of course, was simple, but it definitely was teaching you that, you know, this game has bosses with deliberate design and deliberate gimmicks that you need to think how to fight. And seeing that the gameplay is so simple, like using the secondary weapon was just so intuitive. You can also like change the weapon to like spawning zombies and other things, and I can see that being useful in different types of bosses. With this boss, having the projectile weapon was just awesome, but I can see bosses which, let's say a zombie that distracts them would be better. So I already see how more thought through this game was. Not long after this boss, we also are introduced to a secondary mechanic, which basically adds like another power, which helps you traverse the levels. Here when we have Glide, which just felt so natural to use. I didn't even have to think about this. It's just, I just did it because, again, good game design. Even the touchscreen elements from DS are not as bad here. I don't know, it's because maybe they implemented some of this in the original game, but here basically you have to draw a symbol because it's a seal or something, I don't know. But you have to draw a symbol. And instead of drawing with stylus, you press buttons like in a mini game found in like Harry Potter games on PS1. Awesome. That's what I want. I don't want the touchscreen thing to distract too much. And I think in Order of Ecclesia, unfortunately, it is too big of a mechanic to ignore. And here it doesn't really bother me at all. You can just play it like a normal game. I really think that they were trying to strike a balance between fighting, the gameplay, you know, the combat, and puzzles. And I think they did a really good job. In this game, it does clear that it's more about finding the power up to move to the next level and move to the next section of the map, really, because it's all interconnected, and you just need to find the right item to unlock the right door, which again, that is basics of Metroidvania as far as I'm aware, and that's what you know, that's the way the game is designed. It's very clear about telegraphing things like that with like giant ice wall. You clearly have to do something. You have to get an item with fire to open this up, or there is another door which is like look all mechanical, and it's based in a level which is all about Frankenstein. So clearly you need something like electrical or thunder style to open it up. It just all is made in such a way, simple, clear way, that I don't think you could really get lost in this game. Though I did get confused about how to equip the thing, but it's just because I don't pay attention. However, everything else about this game just feels deliberately designed, and that's what I want from my games. I don't want them to feel like they were just thrown together and just shit was added for sake of it. I do like deliberately designed games, and this is one of those. And even the art style, I think it's a little bit nicer than the Order of Ecclesia. The second game also had a nice charm to it, but I really like the way this is designed. I think that everything is like less detailed because it is a little bit more zoomed out, I feel, but I think that's it's to its merit because you can see the level better and have more understanding of where you're going, which honestly I take that over slightly more detailed sprites, so I have no problem with that. And it still carries on the cool enemy design and everything in this game. And I honestly can see myself play this game for a long time. So yeah, this collection was a mixed bag for me personally. Maybe I'm very picky, but I genuinely really enjoyed Dawn of Sorrow, and I will play that game again. I do definitely want to have it on Switch or maybe even get it on DS because it would be a cool game to play portably. However, being on my home console, I still think I would play this game, and I will play this game because I do really enjoy it. It has the things that I really want in game. Good level design, deliberate level design, and it's just fun to play. So that's what's most important. But yeah, that is Castlevania Dominus Collection. Would I recommend this? I would say yes. Only for Dawn of Sorrows, I would recommend this. Those collections are never really expensive. Be it, I got one mine for free, so I might be biased, so take it with a grain of salt. But I would genuinely buy it. I do buy some of those Konami collections because they're just good. There's lots of value in them, lots of gameplay if you like this. But even if you wouldn't like Ecclesia, and I forget what the other one is called, this one, I think you still will enjoy at least Dawn of Sorrows because it is a genuinely great game. This game really made me think, maybe there's something in the Metroidvania games. Maybe I should try to play them again. Maybe I should try playing Symphony of the Night. Let me know down in the comments down below if I should do so. And of course, subscribe and ring the bell as well, because why not? I'm making videos as I go. There isn't a really set schedule, but there's always something on the horizon. There's a few cool things that I have planned. So yes, stay tuned because you don't want to miss it out. But yeah, but that is all for me on this day. I tip my bucket hat to you, and I will see you next time. Bye!